I think the biggest security threat to Canada is China.
It is one of the largest threats to foreign interference, which we have to counter, and we are countering. It is a partner, more than that, with Russia, and is supporting them in its unjustified invasion, illegal invasion of Ukraine. It is a threat within broader Asia and to Taiwan. And so we both have to engage with China, take steps to protect ourselves here, which we have done in the last few weeks, steps to protect the Arctic. China is becoming an emerging threat to the Arctic.
I want to be very clear. We can prove that every federal government, from Mr. Mulroney to Mr. Trudeau, have been compromised by agents of the Communist China. Every government were informed at one point or another. Every government choose to ignore CISA's warning either by negligence, self-interest, or partisanship. Every government were infiltrated by agents of influence acting on behalf of the Chinese government, and we knew who they were.
It's been 8 years since a Canadian Prime Minister visited China. And this is a relationship that has been distant and uncertain for nearly a decade. That has held back investment, it's stalled business growth, and cost Canadian workers good opportunities. And that's why Canada's new government began to recalibrate our relationship with China. Through periods of global tension and disruption, we've created more opportunities for our workers, businesses, and investors by working together. That's the opportunity before us now. More stability, more certainty, and prosperity on both sides of the Pacific.
So, what changed? Canada did not wake up one day and decide to do business with China. This shift was pushed into existence. The United States imposed heavy tariffs on Canadian goods. A trade deal Canada relied on, the USMCA, was suddenly treated as meaningless. Public talk of Canada becoming the 51st state crossed from joke to threat. Greenland was openly discussed as something to be taken whether they like it or not. For Canada, the message was clear. Loyalty no longer guaranteed respect. My Carney's trip to Beijing was not about ideology, it was about options. When your closest ally treats you as expendable, you diversify. China offered market access, energy demand and stability, and Canada responded. China is now Canada's top buyer of crude oil. 8 new agreements were signed. The language shifted from confrontation to cooperation. This is not Canada choosing China over America. It is Canada protecting itself in a world where American policy has become unpredictable. That is what changed.
China's strengths, for example, in electric vehicles, are formidable. They're undeniable. These are the most affordable and energy efficient and innovative vehicles in the world. And for Canada to build our own competitive EV sector, we need to learn from, partner with, and access and build supply chains with China. To help deliver on the full potential of these partnerships and to bring down costs for Canadians, we're going to start by allowing up to 49,000 Chinese electric vehicles into the Canadian market at the most favored nation tariff rate, which is 6.1%.
Carney's most important words in Beijing were not emotional, they were technical. When he said New World Order, he was not making a mistake. He was describing rules, trade rules, payment systems, financial regulation, energy markets, currency systems. These are the areas Carney focused on in his entire career. He has long argued that the global system is changing and that the US dollar will not dominate forever. In Beijing, he simply said it out loud. That mattered because this was a Five Eyes country speaking this way in China on the global stage. To Washington, it sounded like defiance. To other countries, it sounded like realism. Carney wasn't praising China's politics, he was acknowledging China's role. And that distinction is everything. This wasn't a speech for voters, it was a message for capitals.
Prime Minister Brian Platt with Bloomberg News. Yesterday, when you met with Premier Lee, one of the things you said in the public remarks was this partnership, Canada and China, this new partnership sets us up well for the new world order. What did you mean by that? What is the new world order?
Well, it's a great question, Brian, because I think the world is still determining what that order is going to be. And let's be clear what we're talking about first and foremost, which is what is going to govern global trade? What is the role of the WTO going to be? How important are bilateral deals such as the one we're developing? Plurilateral deals, if I can use that term, Trans-Pacific Partnership, potential linkages between Trans-Pacific Partnership and the EU. Where is financial regulation, payment system regulation going to fit into that? All of these aspects, I use fancy words like the architecture, the multilateral system that has been developing these is being eroded, to use a polite term, undercut, use another term. So the question is, what gets built in that place? How much of a patchwork is it? How much is it just on a bilateral basis? Or where do like-minded countries in certain areas? So like-minded countries, just to be clear, doesn't mean you agree on everything. Aspects, for example, on digital trade or agricultural trade, climate finance as another area. To move into areas of geostrategy, geosecurity, you will have different coalitions that are formed. So what this partnership does is in areas, for example, of clean energy, conventional energy, agriculture, as we were just talking about, and financial services, which we've talked less about, but the evolution of the global financial system, the role of the renminbi over time, the evolution of cross-border payments. I know it all sounds very dry, except for your organization, which I think takes an interest in it. These are important elements of how the system is going to work.
The United States believes it is holding the line against China, but the results tell a different story. Germany now sees America as unreliable at record levels. Australia has already reset relations with Beijing. Britain is planning its own China visit. And Canada is no longer pretending this shift isn't happening. Pressure does not create loyalty. It creates alternatives. By using tariffs, threats, and public humiliation against allies, Washington is pushing them to hedge their bets. Not because they love China, but because they no longer trust the system to protect them. This is the great irony. The US fears a multipolar world, but its own actions are building it faster than China ever could. Canada is not the last ally to adjust. It is just the first to say it out loud.
If you think about it, it takes a special kind of arrogance. You're standing in the Great Hall of the people, and you tell Canadians they need to prepare for a new world order. I don't want to be in a new world order with China and the Chinese Communist Party. Maybe sovereignty is just a line on a balance sheet for him we're talking about, and we're selling it for pennies on the dollar. And let's be clear about what this partnership ignores. But China's actively committing genocide against the Uyghur people. They've strangled the life out of Hong Kong since reacquiring it. I thought we were friends with them in Taiwan, and the international rules, China pays no attention to it. Trudeau looks like a hawk compared to Mark Carney. He found it somewhere, some way to call out Beijing on a number of times, number of occasions for its treatment of the two Michaels, bullying neighboring countries. We just abandoned the moral high ground entirely. We waved a white flag. This new world order is not a vision, it's a trap. It means we're not leading with our values anymore, no matter who the prime minister's been. That's how we're supposed to operate. And your Prime Minister Carney, you keep it.
Absolutely not. Didn't have any consultation. Didn't consult with the automakers. This is going to be terrible for not only just all the people of Ontario, but especially the auto manufacturers, the supply chain. We're letting China into a market that's going to have lower tariffs than our largest market, the U.S. And I don't think that's going to go over too well with President Trump. But it's going to hurt every single auto manufacturer, every single supply chain that has anything to do with the auto sector. This was not thought out properly. It wasn't consulted. It was a knee-jerk reaction as far as I'm concerned. And this is going to be a big, big problem.